Welcome back. Hey, I want you to know that you are creating your reality. And there's four planes that you're creating your reality on, four places that you're doing it. And most of the time, people are focused on only one. And I'm here to tell you that if you stay focused on just this one, the physical, it's going to be a challenge to really produce the results you want in your life. So today, I'm going to be taking you to a clip from a live seminar we did earlier in 2023, where I'm breaking down a little bit about what I call the four creation quadrants. And you're going to get an idea of how that's working. And then at the end, I invite all the seminar participants to do an exercise, and I want you to do the exact same thing. I'm Ben Spangle. I'm a mindset, performance coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and I'm happy to have you here with me today. What I'm about to talk to you about, this seminar clip, is I started to understand these ideas and started to teach them to our clients and our teammates. I realized that a lot of us spend all of our time focused on this one quadrant, the physical, that you'll see in a little bit, but yet we're missing these other components. And if we're missing these other components, we're never going to have the complete final picture of success that we're looking to create. So I hope you enjoy today. By the way, to help you enhance your life, I've created a free workbook called Purpose, Vision, and Goals that helps you clarify a lot in those areas and come up with your own game plan on how to start shaping your life more the way that you want to. So make sure to check the show notes, check the description so that you can get a copy of that. I hope you enjoy today. I'll see you soon. So we want to change something in our life. And the thing I love about life, no matter how far you go, no matter how much you get, where you get to, there's always another level. And so the whole premise of the seminar, vibe higher, no matter how high you go, there's always another level. And I think the sweet spot of living life is to be in love with life today and excited about creating something better for the future. One of the major mistakes that I lived for probably a decade of my life, and I find many people that are achiever type focused, which you probably are, is that where you want to get to is better than where you are. And the problem with that kind of thinking is that if where you want to get to is always better than where you are, then you never actually get to be fully happy with where you are. Because once you get to where you think you want to be, you're going to be able to see something else beyond that, and then over there is going to be better than here. You following me? So the sweet spot of creation is I love my life today, and I'm excited about what else is coming. It's an amazing spot. And it took me, like I say, better part of a decade where no matter how much success I had got, when I thought it was the business, then I thought it was the income, then I thought it was the house and the trips and all this stuff. But I would always get there and I'd be happy for about a day with it, maybe two, and then I was already on to the next thing. Who knows what I'm talking about? Anyone else experienced this before? And it's this never-ending cycle, this never-ending trap. So then you could go your whole life thinking that the things that you want are what bring you happiness. But the truth is that we have to learn to be happy today, and still we can create something greater from where we are. But if you can't be happy today with what you have, you're never going to be happy when you get what you think what you want. So that's part of the practice. That's part of the practice. I still screw it up all the time. This week was intense. There was probably 3-4 hours at once where I was a freaking mess. My wife had to calm me down. I was just all over the place. I was working on being happy, but it wasn't happening. So I was still working on this stuff all the time. All right. I want you to think about this idea. If you really want to change your life, then you have to be willing to question what you think you know. This is tough. We don't usually want to do that. As a species, we're pretty set in our ways that this is what I know, this is what I believe, and that's fact. But if you really want to change your life, you have to be willing to question your beliefs, your assumptions, the things that you think that you know. And the longer I'm on the planet and the more I learn, the more I realize what I think I know, I really don't know anything. Have you ever found that? You think you know, who's had an experience where you thought you knew something and it was totally inaccurate, right? And it makes you realize, but you were so convinced. For years, the earth was flat, and that was a fact, that the earth was flat. I think there's still a society today, the earth is flat society. I think it still exists. Any part-time members in that right now? If you are, it's okay. We're going to challenge what you think you know. So you got to be willing to question what you think you know. And it's not always easy because we don't want to, right? Sometimes we're just super comfy. But as we progress through it, it's not a question of whether what you believe is right, wrong, true, false,
we're going to come to this in a little bit, but it's just, is it helping you? Does it help you get what you want? Does it help you lead a more happy, fulfilling, successful life? And if the answer is no, then it might be time to update that way of thinking. Second thing, as we go through today, is that if we're going to really change our life, I think it takes a fundamental shift in how we view reality. To start to look at it from a different lens and a different perspective, and we're going to spend some time talking about that and go a little deeper on that, which I'm excited about. But when we understand how our reality is created, and we start to study this more and more, you recognize that you have a lot more choice in your life than maybe you've thought up to this point. All right, something else to consider as we go through the event today. Here's some words to be very cautious of. All right, these 3 words, the minute you say these 3 words, you shut your mind to all other possibilities of learning. So be careful of these 3 words. Does anyone know what I might have said this at the last event. Does anyone know what these 3 words are? Huh? I know that. That's right. Thank you. So be careful of those 3 words. So when something comes up, today, many of you have been studying personal development for a lot of years. So I'm not going to sit up here and say that, listen, everything I'm going to talk to you about is brand new information. This has never crossed your path before. For many of you, you've probably read this stuff. You might have watched it before. You might have listened to it before. So be careful when you're sitting there thinking, I know that. The mind shuts off, and then you can't receive new ideas, new information. But there's a big difference between knowing something intellectually and actually living it in our lives. Agreed? With the invention of the internet and things like Google and YouTube, pretty much all information you would ever need on any subject already is accessible to you. Right? It pretty much is. So if all the information's already there, and technically, if we didn't know, we could find out very quickly, but most of us know what to do, then we have to recognize that it's never enough just to know intellectually. We want to move from knowing on an intellectual level to true understanding. How do you tell if you have true understanding? Is you're living that in your life. Does that make sense? I love to read, and reading a book doesn't fundamentally change your life. Now, if there's great ideas in there and you actually go apply them in your life, and then you learn from the experience of what happened from doing that thing, thinking that way, feeling that way, now you've got true knowledge. Now you've got some wisdom. You went out and did it, and you figured out what happened from it. And so today, what I want you to do is as you leave today, even throughout today, is even if you're maybe thinking, maybe sometimes it comes up against some of your old beliefs that that's not the way things are, or I'm not so sure, or I'm kind of skeptical, or whatever it may be, why not try it out, test it out in your life, be the experimenter rather than the critic, and then find out for yourself. How's that sound? Is that cool? All right, turn to your neighbor, tell him I'm going to test it out in my life. Yeah. All right. Okay, so my goal today, I want to give you the best of what I know today. That's my goal. I'm going to give you the best of what I know today. So my greatest understanding of how I think life works up to this point, at least in this area. Does that sound good? Yeah. Sometimes my wife disagrees with my understandings of how life works, but just messing. All right, so today we're going to study a couple very important things. Can I get up the slide real quick? So the first thing, if we're going to make a dramatic change in our life, is I think there's 2 major studies that are worthwhile for the rest of our lives. Number 1 is psychology, the understanding of the mind. And I've been fascinated by this subject for probably not the full 15 years of study, but maybe 13 of those, 14 of them. And so I looked up the definition of psychology, the scientific study of the mind and behavior. Psychology includes the study of the conscious and unconscious phenomena, including feelings and thoughts. Now, I think if we just took the first part, if you were to study your mind and your behavior, you would think that that's probably a worthwhile pursuit for the rest of your life. How much does your mind and your behavior influence your life right now? A lot, right? A lot. So to me, that's why I've dedicated so much time to this stuff, I don't know if there's anything more important to study than your own mind and your behavior. Guess what? If you understand your own mind, who else do you understand? Everybody else. Because we all have the same mind that way. We're all different in terms of our personality, but our mind works in the same way. It's got the same faculties, the same everything. And so if I understand me, then I get a much greater understanding of life overall. So one study is the study of mind. And then, this is one of my favorite quotes of all time from Tesla. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Oh, I didn't pull my slide up. I pulled it up on my end, not for you. There you go. And I love that. So to me, the study of mind, psychology, and then the study of energy, and in some you might call it spirituality, but to me they're the same, 1 and 2, they're the exact same thing. When we study these two things, we really start to make some moves in our life. So that's what we're going to do today. How's that sound? 2 people are looking forward to it. All right, good. All right, you ready to jump in? Let's jump in. So, my overriding premise of life that I've learned to develop is that we really do create our reality. We get to create how our life unfolds. So you don't always get to decide how it unfolds, but the direction of it. And this was a belief that most of us did not grow up with. Most of us grew up with very much a victim mindset in the sense that life happens to you, and then you just make the best of it. You react. What I've learned, in my opinion anyways, is that life doesn't happen to us, but our life happens because of us. So we us. Now, when we don't fully understand all this stuff, we might argue with that and say, no way, that's not the case. Now, I'm not saying everything in your life was your fault and all that. That's not what I'm trying to say in any way, shape, or form. What I am saying is that when you really start to understand this, you become a conscious creator of your life. Now, that's fun when you start to get to that, where you're starting to attract all the things necessary, all the right people, all the right places, all the right circumstances, so that you can live life the way that you want to. Who likes that idea? All right? That's a good idea. Okay. So, thinking of this idea of how you're creating your reality, we have to understand is that there's 4 quadrants. I call them the creation quadrants, but there's 4 quadrants in terms of how you are creating your life. And we live simultaneously on all 4 of these planes at the same time. So there's a spiritual or energetic level on how we live. Whatever you prefer to call that, that's up to you. There's a mental plane that we live on. That's your thinking process. There's an emotional plane that we live on. That's your feeling process. And of course, the last one is the physical plane. And the physical plane is everything that your 5 senses tell you exist. So what you can see, what you can hear, what you can touch, what you can feel, not in emotions, but in physical touch, and taste and smell, I guess, would be the other ones. Is that 5? I think that's 5, right? Yeah. Now, most people, what they do is that they neglect the first 3, and they spend the majority of their time trying to change their life in the last quadrant, the physical quadrant. Now, the physical quadrant, what you have to understand, if we can go back to the slide for a sec, we have to understand is that the physical quadrant is the very last place that something is going to show up in your life. So everything that you experience in the physical is a reflection of the other 3 quadrants. Who's still following me? So what happens is, one of the great traps we fall into is that we look at our life, we look at what we can see and hear are the primary 2 that we base it off of, but we have all 5 senses, but we look at what we can see and hear, and we assume that this is life. Well, what you have to understand is that the physical is the manifestation of the other 3. So, if I want to change my physical reality, then I want to get a good understanding of how do I start to influence these other 3. Who's still following me? Yeah? Cool. And you may have a tendency to focus on one more than the other, but I want you to think about this idea. When you think about, I'll give you a simple solution to some of the things. If you think about maybe a challenge in your life right now, that area of life that you want to change, and then you think of those 4 quadrants, where are you having that challenge the most right now? And I'm not saying there's a one-word answer, but it could be that you're having a more physical challenge. So maybe your body's not in the shape that you want to be, but you're not exercising. Well, that's a pretty clear physical challenge that we need to change. Agreed? But maybe you are exercising, but you feel really bad about the way you look and everything and all that stuff. Well, that might be more an emotional challenge to fix. You following me? Or we use the same example, maybe well, you wouldn't feel good if your self-talk sucked, but maybe your inner language is the challenge, And so take a look at where do you think you're experiencing that the most? So that area that you chose, I want to change this area of my life. Where are you facing the biggest challenge out of those quadrants?
All right. Hey, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the seminar today. By the way, we're hosting our next one, September 16th and 17th, 2023, live and in Edmonton. You can go to my website, benspangle.com, to get more information on that. With that being said, though, I want to direct you to a couple things. Number one is go check out the episode that I did, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Apple or Spotify. Go check out the episode called The 5R Fears and what to do about them. It's going to help you getting rid of some of these fears that prevent you from taking action. And if you haven't downloaded the Purpose, Vision, and Goals workbook, make sure to click the link in the show notes in the description below so that you can get access to that. I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.